Hey guys, today we are taking a look at the Hill. We are taking a look at Biden's new proposal for his money. Forgot to stick that out there. But yeah, we're this is from the Hill. They are center biased. They're a little bit more biased than a lot of the center right news sources, but got different perspectives. So several different perspectives, not all one-sided. So let's check them out.
Last night, reports broke that President Biden is expected to ask Congress for a defense budget of more than $770 billion in 2023. Budget proposal
Already a terrible idea. We spend way too much money on the military as it is.
was a $17 billion increase from Biden's request last year. Biden's former request of $753 billion was already $12 billion more than former President Donald Trump's highest military budget. So if we're doing the math right,
And I thought Trump's was high.
Biden's 23 request would be nearly $30 billion more than Trump's.
The Peter G. Peterson Foundation put the massive spending in perspective and confirmed that the U.S. spends more on defense than China, India, Russia, the UK, Saudi Arabia, Germany, France.
Yep, that's how much we spent.
Japan, South Korea, Italy, and Australia combined. Our rising panelist, council member at large of Montgomery County, Maryland, Will Jawando, and partner at CGCN Group, Sam Gadoldig, join us to discuss. Welcome to you both.
Thanks.
Will, we're just going to spend more and more on defense, I guess, every year, regardless of the conditions on the ground, regardless of the fact that I thought we were trying to end these involvements, these wars we've been in.
Yeah, the United States government and the politicians don't want to end war because war is profitable. I don't really know why they're spending so much money on the military. It's the Republicans that I thought were doing most of the military spending, but here Biden goes around and spends even more. It's stupid.
But the health of the bureaucracy, I guess, is just too important.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate.
Matt, I just imagine a lot of conservatives start taking up for Biden for spending this much. I don't know if they will or they'll attack him because it wasn't Trump. I don't know.
Expansion of the military-industrial complex. You would think when we're ending an engagement in Afghanistan, a 20-year-plus war, we're pulling back, that you would see a Defense Department that is trying to work smarter.
Yeah, you would think, but no. The United States rather waste all of its money on war, on military. Sorry, not war. And all that money is going to the military. They won't worry about helping the soldiers, the ones who actually fight and end up getting PTSD and things like that. No, they want to better fund the generals and things like that. And that money ain't going to more technology. We're already one of the highest advanced militaries in the world. Let me look at the strongest militaries in the world. We are either first or second. 10 strongest militaries in the world. United States, is that like the number one? United States is in the top 10, even if it's not number one. Number one's the United States. Number two, Russia. Number three, China. 4, India. 5, Japan. 6, South Korea. 7, France. 8th, Italy. 9th, the United Kingdom. And 10th, Turkey. Why we have to be the have the strongest military if most of the wars that we're fighting are abroad?
I think that you have really smart defense professionals, Admiral Mullen, other people who have said if we don't get our spending and budget, and particularly the budget of the Defense Department under control, that's going to be a national security concern. Overhead, and the like, contractors, outsourcing of services, how far our footprint is. And what really makes it hard to swallow for someone like me who's dealing every day and has to balance a budget and is trying to provide for residents, there's just this cognitive dissonance between this expanded, bloated budget approaching $1 trillion if it keeps on the same pace over the next several years, and 10-11% of our spending.
Yeah, it's getting ridiculous. Need to cut spending for the military drastically.
And we have people that don't have health care, that can't afford child care that costs $2,000.
Yeah, we should be focused more on welfare programs rather than military spending.
$1,000 a month. We've got a mismatch of priorities, unfortunately.
And Sam, earlier this week we had Lucas Kuntz, a Senate candidate, on the show, and he was making the point that a significant chunk of this military spending goes to, say, keep open the Strait of Hormuz, which then allows oil to flow through it, 70+% of which flow.
Okay, I may have been wrong about something, but it's even worse than I thought it was. Most of the money is going to oil.
Flows over to Asia, and in general, the military.
They know they can do this just so they can make profit. That's all the United States government is about, all the military is about.
Military spending, is to.
I'm not talking about soldiers, I'm talking about the actual military. They like the generals and all that.
To prop up the petrodollar.
Lieutenants, whatever. I don't know too much about the military. Besides their spending, that's the most I know about them.
And the global fossil fuel economy. Yet, here American consumers are paying outrageous prices at the pump. So, what are we getting for our $770 billion here?
Nothing, just benefiting the United States government with resources.
You keep asking me these very technical questions, and I'm like this broad picture guy. The thing that I think is ironic about a Biden defense budget that's $30 billion more than Trump's ever was is the fact that if Trump did it, you'd have not you, but the media's hair would be on fire, and I think Trump's greatest.
Yeah, that's true. If Trump did it, the media would be furious, but the media is not exactly covering this, the Hill. This is why the Hill's good, and you can see they're nonpartisan. They've got several different perspectives, people from different perspectives and different backgrounds. It's not like Fox News. I mean, Fox News does sometimes have a few people on with different perspectives, but they have very much different perspectives. They just get attacked by the Fox News host.
Greatest accomplishment is that he didn't start any new engagements overseas. In fact, he did everything he could to wind the ones that the previous presidents, whether they were Democrats or Republicans, started. There's a lot of cynicism out there, especially.
Most of the previous wars were started by the Republicans, actually. George Bush Jr. I'm not trying to make a dig at Republicans. I'm trying to make a dig at George Bush Jr.
Among younger Republicans and some, kind of base Democrats about this spending and these engagements. I think for different reasons, Republicans would rather spend the money at home, maybe at our own border to protect it, rather than go to Ukraine to protect a border that, no one in America will ever likely see. So I just find the whole conversation.
I think we need to be involved with other countries, but respect Ukraine's sovereignty. But we shouldn't be raising the defense budget. We should actually be lowering it. Our military is plenty enough advanced.
Amusing.
And I would say conservatives probably still against Biden because the fact that it's abroad. It's a defense budget for abroad, not at home.
Trump or any Republican suggested doing this, the left would be going bats.
I think this guy is right wing.
The end of the road. So here we are. A Democratic president is doing it. The establishment seems to be getting behind it. There's a lot of cynicism that it's a mini stimulus bill and a way to kind of juice the economy and maybe get our defense contractors producing all kinds of, new products to sell to Ukraine or wherever it might go. And I don't disagree with Will personally. I think there's a lot of Republicans that agree with Will that the money should be spent in America. I think the problem, the difference.
Yeah, it should be spent in America, but not on military in America. It should be spent on more important things. What about all the poor people in America? The money should go to welfare, not the military. There's lots of poor Americans, some living paycheck to paycheck, some on the streets, just get into crime and things like that. But no, you'd rather spend it on the military or locking someone in prison. But that's a different issue.
Difference in Congress would be, where the liberals would like to spend it and where the Republicans would like to spend it. But I do think it's a generational.
Yep, this guy is definitely a conservative. He keeps using those words to get somebody riled up. Those not every Democrat is a liberal. I mean, the ones in power at the moment are liberals, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I would call her a liberal, but I've kind of looked at some of her stuff. She's very tough on crime, so I don't really know.
Thing. These older Republicans and older Democrats, are very comfortable beginning these new engagements, and I think the younger.
These older Republicans and older Democrats are nothing but crooks and should be kicked out and should be forced to retire. They're nothing but old crooks that don't know what they're talking about.
Crowd in both parties, especially in Congress, is a little more cynical about this spending and the lack of discussion that goes around.
I'm talking about the real old ones that are actually politicians, the ones in the Senate and things, and the ones trying to run for president. Then again, that would include Bernie Sanders, wouldn't it? I better not say nothing about that, because Bernie Sanders is getting up there, but I still like my chances of Bernie Sanders in another 4 years with Joe Biden or Donald Trump.
Yeah, I mean, I'm skeptical of spending on all fronts, in all categories, not depending on who's the president. But that goes to an issue. The Republicans cannot criticize out of control government spending because every time they're in charge, they're responsible.
Yeah, they cannot criticize it because every time when Trump was in, he increased the budget. It was for home, it wasn't for abroad, but he was spending crazy amounts on the military. And that's one of the main reasons Republican conservatives vote Republican, because of military spend. They know the Republicans are going to spend more on the military.
For they go more over the top than the previous administration. Then of course Democrats top them because Democrats have even less of an ideological commitment to keeping spending in line. But Republicans have a stated opposition to it. But it like nobody believes them, or you'd be a fool if you did believe them when they rail against Democrats spending too much, because we all know they're going to spend too much. Like they've done it every single time. Right?
That is a bipartisan problem in the mainstream of both.
Yeah, Republicans always attacking, you'll hear Republicans talking about how Biden's spending way too much money. What about all the money you spend on the military? Biden's actually spending it on things we need. I mean, I don't think anything he's trying to do will pass because most of our people in Congress and things are nothing but old retards that are nothing but corrupt. But yeah, that's like all Biden's not going to pass anything is my main point. And it's got a lot of Republican opposition as well, because he's doing it based off of Bernie Sanders' platform. not because Biden is a Democratic socialist. You can just tell by his policies. Biden is no Democratic socialist. He's a liberal. That's what he is. He didn't used to be a liberal, but he's a liberal now.
Political parties. I think you'll have some people, like Senator Sanders and maybe Elizabeth Warren and other people who do push back against this budget in significant ways. But I think,
yeah, the Democratic Socialists are the only ones that are actually pushing back against military funding. I think libertarians are as well. But when we're talking about Democrats, the Democratic Socialists are the only ones pushing back against military funding or so much funding at all. Like, apparently the liberals are for more military funding for overseas stuff, like Joe Biden. So, and he didn't come up with that idea itself. Probably Kamala Harris's idea. Wouldn't put it past him.
you're right. Republicans, whether it be unpaid for tax cuts, go down the lists, defense spending, other types of spending. Because you remember Trump spending was still the
Yeah, Trump's tax cuts for the rich was stupid. You can attack me in the description below, like, oh, Daddy, Trump did so well with not making the rich spend so much, because the rich only have 350% more than an average worker does, or times. I forget what Bernie said.
largest ever when Trump did it for the Defense Department. So I think you see a pattern there. You have to remember too, this is half of the discretionary budget. A lot of our budget is fixed. I deal with a $6 billion budget. Most of it is spoken for by the time I get to it, as far as dedicated spending. And this is spending half of our discretionary budget. And if that there's choices, there's trade-offs there. And I think when you look at that graphic you showed, as much as 11 other countries, we are in an existential decision here. Point of what will.
We're just getting ridiculous. We spend more than 11 other countries. That's just ridiculous. That's unfathomable. We need to cut spending drastically. I don't care what political party you're for. If you don't think we should decrease funding, then you've lost your mind. You ain't in reality. You're just getting all of your news from right or left wing news sources. I don't know where he gets your news, but that just seems like what all people do. They always just want to watch one side of news. And if you think I just watch one side of politics, no, I don't. I watch a lot of Ben Shapiro, right wing. I watch a lot from the Hill, center, and several different. They're nonpartisan or bipartisan. That's it, not nonpartisan. And I watch like Vosh. He's left wing, Democratic Socialist. I don't really watch liberals.
Will America be in the next century, and where will
He's more of an actual socialist than a democratic socialist. So
our place in the world be, and how will we get there? And I think you still have this generation. I agree with my colleague. Challenge of we have to spend as much as possible so we can remain, the most dominant entity. Maybe what we need to do is figure out.
yeah, most main reason that Republicans want to spend so much on the military, the Republican politicians, the Republican voters are just brainwashed by the politicians and believe the crap that try and protect our country. No, the Republican politicians are just a bunch of nationalists that just think our country's the greatest, so we must remain the greatest by being number one.
How we can become strong here at home and work with others in collaboration. And it's not just a military approach, and work smarter. I'm for investments in cybersecurity, but that's not where most of this money is going. So
yeah, we probably need to increase our budget on cybersecurity. Uh, Cybersecurity is a bit of a bigger threat than the actual military security. because Russia loves to hack and they have very advanced hackers. So maybe we shouldn't. I don't really know the budget for cybersecurity. Let me Google it. United States cyber security budget. $9.8 billion in cybersecurity. That's proposed budget. How much U.S. government spent on cybersecurity? $17.4 billion of budget authority for cybersecurity. They spend quite a bit on cybersecurity as well, so maybe they don't need an increase. That's quite a bit of money.
I think it's just a change of what the priorities are and what they should be.
Yeah, and Sam, the pattern has been, as you've watched it unfold, time and time again, is the president proposes a certain amount of money for the military, which is more than was spent the year before, and then Congress takes it and says thank you, and then adds even more to it from there. And that's so far that's been either party. If Republicans end up taking the House next term, do you suspect that they could finally break that pattern, or do you think that there are still enough old guard members that will see it again, that Biden will propose by then $805 billion and Republicans will come back with, how about 815?
I think the Congress right now is
if it's for foreign spending, I do not think if Republicans win the House, or yeah, whatever. If they win a House or a Senate or whatever, then I do think they'll break that chain. They don't want to spend on foreign. They don't want foreign spending, and I don't either. We spend way too much as it is. We got the best military in the world. I Googled that. That is, I did research. You saw me. It's actual facts. So
very, very interesting. And to compare this Congress and the incoming Congress in the next session to the years past is not applicable, right? I think we could have 80 to 90 brand new Republican members, all very green, not vested in programs of the past. I mean, if we pick up 50 or so seats and replace 30 retiring members, you're at 80 brand new members in the Republican conference alone. So
yeah, if Republicans do, I hope we see some new faces, some younger people that will propose new ideas and not just stick to the old corruptive ways of the Republican Party. And same with the Democrats. But the main Democrats that I really know that are running is Nina Turner for Ohio and Charles Booker for Kentucky. And I hope both of them win a seat in the House because they're similar to Bernie Sanders. They're Democrat socialists, and from what I see, they don't seem like liberals. They got the ideas of Bernie Sanders. So
I just think that there's a sense among these younger members that we should not be spending this kind of money to fight these wars overseas. I think Trump started that kind of idea that we not be getting in these engagements and start winding them down. And I think there's a lot of young.
yeah, Trump's definitely an isolationist. I wouldn't mind foreign affairs if we avoid a military conflict. If we just resolve things peacefully, that'd be better, and then spend so much on foreign conflict. We do need to keep peaceful relations with neighboring countries and people that could ally with us, because if we were ever to get in a war with Russia or China or North Korea, things could really go bad if we do not have allies. So
Younger Republicans that feel strongly about it. I think it will split the Republican conference right down the middle. I don't think it's an easy kind of leadership vote for a McCarthy and a Scalise and whoever is the conference chair. So I just think it's going to be a very complicated, debate going forward with Republicans. I don't think they're all there. And you've seen Barbara Lee and others, speak out against the Iraq War. I think liberals are kind of coming around to her position as well. So, who the Democratic leader is and whether they can get enough votes to make up the Republicans
I'll be right back. All right, let's continue.
that lack it to get Biden the funds he's requesting. I think next Congress is going to be super interesting when it comes to getting votes for these engagements.
Yeah, and Will, it's not like this kind of spending, this specific type of spending is particularly popular among activist young people, Democrats, liberals, progressives, etc., or the base is also not interventionist, the Democratic base. So you'd think this is like the worst thing to prioritize for Democrats, just like on all fronts.
Well, you're exactly right, and I think it really shows that this is an industrial complex. I mean, Eisenhower was right. This thing has so much inertia that it doesn't really matter what public opinion is or where the mainstream of both parties are, where the activists of both parties are. It just kind of builds on itself. And if you look at the
Yeah, they just love war.
commentary on it just in the last day or so, it's kind of like, oh, here we go again. It's almost a defeatist commentary, like that from people who don't want to see it happen, but they don't think that anything can change. And I think that shows how deep and how powerful and how interconnected this is throughout the bureaucracy. A lot of this money goes to the Department of Energy for nuclear, it goes a lot of places. And so people sometimes just throw up their.
I personally believe that nuclear energy is a fantastic idea. It would probably be the best form of energy. So, yeah, just a quick, brief opinion about that.
Hands, but we have to tackle this because this is unsustainable going forward.
I do think, however, that renewable resources are also a good idea, but nuclear energy to move away from just the the energy we have now, nuclear energy is a very good option, and I hope they take that opportunity to do something about that.
Yeah, and meanwhile, we're buying an entire new fleet of nuclear weapons because that's what we need, more nuclear weapons.
Why not?
Anyways, Sam, Will, thank you.
No, nuclear. That's why war would be very bad, and I think anybody watching this understands that nuclear war with these countries is a terrible idea. I think anybody watching that can agree on that.
So much for joining us.
Thank you.
The grown-ups are back in charge, Ryan.
There you go. Okay, nix that nuclear modernization program when you guys get in power. Appreciate that. We'll have more Rising right after this.
Okay, so that's what's happening. I don't like it, but that's what's happening. But we're going to end this video right here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Tell me your thoughts on this down in the description below. And just please don't go on with the I'm right because I heard it from this source kind of thing, because I get all kinds of comments like that all the time. I'm surprised I haven't gotten any liberals that commented me yet. Probably because I mostly react to conservative stuff, so we'll see what will happen. But yeah, thank you for watching. See you guys in the next one. Try not to kill each other. Peace.